Hi listeners, this is 𝐀𝐞𝐭'𝐬 here, and I'm your host of Africa and Everywhere Conversations with 𝐀𝐞𝐭'𝐬, where we talk about things that matter. And it's brought to you by Red Radio, powered by UBA, Africa's global back. So let's get into today's new episode. Today we have our special guest, Claude Borna, the Managing Director and Chief Innovation Officer at Sèmè City Development Agency. So thank you very much for being with us today. I'll let you have your introduction in a bit, but just to start, I wanted to ask a rapid fire question. So are you ready for the question?
I am ready. Go ahead.
Okay, great. So when you think of the word successful, who is the first person that comes to your mind and why?
Wow, that's a tough question to get started. When of the word successful, I actually think about all the young talent that, the ones who come in our program. And the reason why I say this is because if I'm giving you names of people who we typically think are successful, to me, it's already kind of in the past because things move so quickly. And I'm more interested in people who are going to shape the future of our continent. For me, when I think of success, I think of them.
Thank you. I think that's a great answer. Makes sense and is on topic for what we're about to discuss. As I mentioned briefly, Sèmè City is called the International City of Innovation and Knowledge. And I was reading that it's one of the flagship projects of the government of the Republic of Benin. So it aims to provide a stimulating framework for meeting the skills of the needs of African markets through training, research, and entrepreneurship. But I wanted to ask to get a better insight to what inspired this creation of this city and what the aspirations for the city are. I realized that I'd never heard of anything like this, and I thought it was very cool that it's being done in Africa, supported by an African government. So as a member of the team that actually helps bring this to life and sees the execution of it, I just wanted to ask what inspired the creation of this innovative city and what are the hopes for the city?
Actually, Sèmè City was started to address an issue that we have in Benin, but you find the same issue in other African countries. Every year you have millions of young people who enter the job market. I think it's like over 20 million, and about 3 million get absorbed into, get a job, what we call the so-called like jobs that being counted. I'm not talking about informal jobs. And that's a very concerning figure because why are 17 million of them not counted as having productive jobs? Is it because they don't have the right skill set? Is it because there are not enough job creation? Is it because our education system maybe isn't giving them the competencies that they need to succeed in a fast evolving job market? So we looked at this, and as you can imagine, the answer to this issue is not a simple one because you have to look at education, you have to look at entrepreneurship, our young people having the skills to create jobs for themselves and for others. You have to look at how we do innovation and how the government is supporting innovation initiatives. So we thought about it and we're like, this is not an isolated solution. We need a solution that puts everything together. And if you put higher education institutions and you ensure that they're very much linked to entrepreneurial programs and to innovation initiatives and research and development, then you can really accelerate the process of job creation and making sure that also our young ones have the skills to be fit for future job market, to be competitive, to be thriving. And this is how we ended up creating Sèmè City. It was really an answer to an issue that we're seeing and that we know we can tackle, but the solution is just not a simple one. The agency was created in 2017, August 2017. and our first program started in end of 2018. We've been running since. It's not a linear journey either. Challenges and successes, and it's a story of resilience. When I talked about success earlier, when we started our first programs in 2019, some of the programs, first school is a computer science school, but it's a computer science school that is totally different from a regular school because you don't have teachers. It's learning by projects, it's learning by doing, it's working in teams. So when they graduated 3 years after, and I saw the first 20 students that trusted us and joined this program, it was just, I think we were all emotional. We were all crying. All of them today doing fantastic things. I think we're really only the, beginning of this amazing journey.
Thank you very much. I think that's very commendable to you and the Republic of Benin, what you're trying to do to help the young people of the country and help them with better job creation and entrepreneurship. So first of all, thank you for the work you guys are doing.
Thank you.
I think just building on that, I heard you talking about how one of the programs you have is a computer science school and that the results of that have been amazing with, I believe you said 94% of people going on to still have jobs. I know that many young Africans are focused on their immediate survival and opportunities for that. So I just wanted to ask, what would you say to people should be the reason to buy into this city, this smart city, and how can they buy in as well? How can they get involved, perhaps?
Yeah. First of all, I understand why people are skeptical. As I said, we're in an environment where things are evolving so quickly, and education, it's probably the same in Nigeria. People are so putting a lot of value on a degree, which, I understand why. But at the end of the day, if that degree is not leading you to a productive activity or a job, then maybe you should rethink the type of education you're getting. And it's a very tough decision to make because you're relying on models before where okay, if you have a degree, you get a job and it's working, and that is failing. So I can understand why people are skeptical, but this is a sign of our times. Old solutions to be rethink, because it's not that easy to just say, hey, I'm going to go to the best university I can, I'm going to get a degree and I'm going to get a job and I'm going to make a decent living. It doesn't work anymore. Jobs are changing. If we sit here and we tell people we know exactly what sort of type of jobs are going to be created in the future, we're lying. No one knows. And it's not a problem that is specific to Benin or Nigeria. Nobody knows. With AI and with all the new, technology and innovation, there are new jobs that are going to be created and there are jobs that are going to disappear. So, yeah, I would be worried, and people should be worried. What I'm telling, even parents or young ones who come and who are a little bit, I would say anxious about what the future holds, is I think it's important to be comfortable with chaos. And it's not a good answer to easily understand that if you're comfortable with chaos, if you're agile, if you have soft skills that are going to be useful no matter what the job is, then you have better chances of success. This is why what are our solutions to address and tackle the transformation that we're witnessing is really building resilience, building a new type of individual who is entrepreneurial minded. Because whether you go work for the government or you start your own business, you have to be entrepreneurial minded. You have to go in with a mindset of, I'm going to find solutions. I'm going to be a person who's not afraid of dealing with complexity, who's not afraid of failing, because that's going to happen. So I guess, when I was telling you earlier that our computer school, we don't have professors. They have coaches. They work on projects from day one.
Yeah.
They do something called the swimming pool. And the swimming pool is you're just thrown in there and you find a solution. Whether you know how to code, not code, you have to find a solution, and it's tough. But you develop that mindset of, you know what, I know it's going to change. I know it's going to be chaotic. I know I'm going to fail, but I'm prepared for that. And this really, I feel that it's the mindset that we need to have, that maybe tomorrow are not even going to be relevant because some robot or some AI to be able to do that in a second. What you've learned for the past 3 years. It's a reality, right?
Definitely.
Some of our programs, you go to university, you look at that program and you're like, okay, you know what? ChatGPT does that better.
Can take the job, exactly. It can do the job, yeah.
It can do the job. So what are you going to do? What are you going to be there and with a skill that is obsolete in a second? Or are you going to be in a mindset that, I need to go and I need to be able to learn how to adapt, how to be better than an AI tool? My team, I am telling them, use ChatGPT, but be better than ChatGPT, because ChatGPT is sometimes a little bit of an idiot, right? It's a computer. You ask questions, it lies, it doesn't. And when, you have to, I think for us Africans, we have to think about that, because if we're just using these new AI tools without intelligence, within quotes, then it's going to be an even greater problem for us. And what we want to be creating, what we want to be giving in terms of skills, are people who are able to develop the AI algorithm, not just be users of AI algorithm, because it's going to be a catastrophe for us if we're just not able to even think anymore. We're just users of any tool that comes in without really understanding what is the algorithm behind it. And especially because some of the tools, that's one of the things that team is looking into, some of our researchers and team. Some of the tools are developed based on algorithm from, the Western world. They don't really take us into account. They don't really take our realities into account. And so how do you ensure that the behaviors and the responses that you get from using these tools are adapted to our situation? If we're just passively using artificial intelligence, I think it's going to be very dangerous for us. So these are some of the things that you have to really be comfortable with what you don't know, and be willing to try and test and not necessarily take the easier answers, because it might actually lead to more problems. So I guess I understand people being skeptical. I understand people questioning the education system, but at the end of the day, we need resilience, we need innovation, and I feel that with the talent that we have on the continent, anything is possible. I'm very confident that we are going to crack this, and we're going to come out of this with an even stronger, full of talent, and Africa is going to really be able to do amazing things.
Sorry to interrupt the episode. Promo Oge is here. This is just a reminder that this episode has been brought ever so kindly by Red Radio, your home for much more music and lifestyle, powered by UBA, Africa's Global Bank. But now that's enough. Let's get back into the episode. I actually really enjoyed what you had to say, because it just sounded so interesting, and I think it gave me some additional clarity that Sèmè City, the way your teaching works, it's not like the orthodox typical, okay, come to university, you learn the regular courses, and then, as you said, you study all these degrees that AI could come and just replicate or could do the work for you. But it seems like you guys are actually trying to be more innovative, which is part of the name, and so making sure that the people that go through the innovation city, they have the skills to start regulating AI, or doing high skill like technological fields. So I thought that was quite interesting. And just building on that, I know you spoke about how there's a computer science school, but just for people that might be interested as well, what are the other subject areas or other topics or fields people can become more developed into, not just computer science? Or what else is there for people to learn or to develop?
Yes, we started with our computer science school. It was the first one. And then we took a bold bet. We said that we were going to do the first degree awarding school in, I think it's in West Africa, for design. And by design, I mean computer design, product design, graphic design. The true definition of design is the visual representation of the future. And there are no design school in Africa. So we decided to open a design school because we truly believe that CEO of the futures are going to be designers. I mean, you look at companies like Apple, they were run by designers. And the true definition of design is how you can materialize, how you can visualize the future. What are they going to be looking like? Are they going to be round? What are you going to do in those cars if you're not driving? How do they get from one point A to point B? And all these things are, it's the work of a designer to represent that. And then it can happen. If you don't have a designer, you are just going to have a good idea. So we started with digital design. So, and it was a very good with our computer science school, and then graphic design, then space design, then product design. And last year we opened master's degrees in design. And one of the things we did from the very beginning was to place our students in enterprises, public sector, private sector, so that they could demonstrate the values that they add, and people could understand what they do. And one of the things we're very proud of is that now we're supported by a lot of companies. They hire our designers. They take our designers for internship. Whenever a new company comes in Benin, they're like knocking at our door to say, hey, can I have some of your students? So it's really working. I think people are starting to understand the value. And this is really where we feel that this type of new field that are not necessarily well known, having a ton of potential for young ones. I mentioned earlier that we're also starting programs in artificial intelligence. We're launching a data science program this month. Also, started to look into creative industries because there is a huge potential that is untapped in creative industries. We launched last year a program in animation, animated film, and when we recruited, we had 12 to get started. When we start, our programs are very, we start with a very small group. Some of them were accountants, and they never ever thought they could work as an animator because it wasn't even a possibility for them. And then, if you see they've done short features now, they've done fantastic work, and you're just thinking, wow, I mean, would these talents been wasted if they didn't have the opportunity to do things that they love and they can be successful at it? So we're now doing more in creative industries. We actually just launched a partnership with the Ebony Live Group to do film screenwriting and producing with the very talented Mona Boudou. And we really love this program because it's going to be an opportunity to put Beninese talent and Nigerian talent together to work on projects. So we have high expectations of this one. We also launched a
Mhm.
fashion program where we have 19 young designers, super, super good, working on their, developing their brands. So it's not just science and technology. We started with a very strong emphasis on science and technologies, but now we're going everywhere where there is an opportunity to create value, to create jobs, to build competencies, and to put Benin on the map, basically.
Honestly, this is putting Benin on the map. I'm just listening and I'm thinking these are such amazing initiatives. It would be so good to see it replicated across the continent, like by different governments, because as you rightly pointed out, giving people the opportunity to explore the creative side. So we don't just have a lot of accountants, which a lot of countries already do, but we can tap into those other industries, like you said, not just tech or AI, but now fashion, the creative industries. So yeah, I would have loved to go to one of these to have this training, I guess. And that actually builds onto one of my other questions. So you've spoken about all the opportunities that people have if they came through Sèmè City, but I wanted to ask who are the demographics of people that have access to what Sèmè City is able to do. So I'm understanding that it's probably just Beninese citizens, but within that, how are people able to access these programs and these opportunities?
Well, first of all, it's not just Beninese. It's
Oh,
this is why we're an international knowledge and innovation city. So we don't just have Beninese students, of course, because the demographics they tend to be very young. From students join our school at 16, 17, 18. So non-Beninese have to be able to have a accommodation, to find the safe accommodation and living in Benin. This is why we're opening a campus. This is now scaling the everything we do, but I'll talk about that later. So typically, I think our average age must be early 20s, and it's a majority of Beninese students and entrepreneurs, but our programs are open to anyone who is willing to develop their project in Benin or to come and learn here. So nationality is not a criteria for recruitment. And I would say in the STEM programs, we don't have enough young women, unfortunately.
right.
We would like to get to 50%, but we're not there yet. So we started doing programs for very young ones, because the issue you have, especially in technical fields, is by the time you get to a baccalaureate, right, high school diploma, there are very few of them because they haven't chosen a technical path. So now we're doing programs from 8 years old. Like we have like robotic camps, STEM classes for really young ones, just because we want to show them that if it's something that you enjoy, then choose this as your path, right? Stay in don't listen to anyone telling you no, you shouldn't do this because this is for boys. If you're good at it, if you enjoy it, then make sure that you pursue this a career in STEM. So but it's a pipeline issue. If you don't start earlier, if you don't start at a very young age, then it's too late.
Yeah.
So in terms of, so we talked about age, we talked about gender, we talked about nationality. We really welcome other nationalities on campus because this is how we create a really interesting, vibrant exchange between cultures, between students coming from different backgrounds, and one of the things that we're also looking at doing is partnering with other initiatives like Sèmè City on the continent and abroad. I am so happy when I hear about such initiatives in other countries because we need them, and it's important that we also share best practice, that we also allow students mobility within Africa. When we talk about mobility, it's not always going to Europe, going to North America. How about mobility within the continent? That would be great. There is so much learning that we can get from that. Maybe one thing I want to talk about as well, because it's super important, is accessibility, because education could be expensive, especially when you look at the cost of some of the programs. So we work a lot with international development agencies. Some of our programs are financed by the World Bank, European Union, by the UN agencies, so that they can be available and accessible to everybody. So especially for people who couldn't afford it, we don't want the cost of a program to be a barrier for someone to access this type of education. So for example, the programs that I mentioned in creative industries or in AI, they're heavily subsidized by the development partners of the government.
Thank you. That's really promising to see that, like you mentioned as well, you're trying to limit the barriers to entry so that more Africans, not just citizens of the Republic of Benin, but more Africans can actually benefit from these good initiatives. You were touching on how even you don't just want to work with international innovation cities, but also ones across the continent, because if we have a more prosperous Africa, that's just great for all of us. And so building on that, I wanted to ask, what lessons do you think other African governments could take from what the Republic of Benin has done in trying to build Sèmè City? And how could they what lessons could they take from this, or what do you think could help replicate this type of initiative in other African countries so we see the same prosperity across the continent? Because I think a lot of young Africans would buy into this, being able to develop their skill set in a time that technology, AI, innovation is front leading. So, sorry, just to wrap up again, what do you think other governments could learn from this perhaps?
I think the same way we're learning from what is done abroad, what I would love to see is for a structured initiative that brings all the innovation hubs together. We're working with some of them, like, there is a Kigali Innovation City, there is Konza in Kenya. There's some initiatives as well in Senegal. So we do programs where we, as I said, where we try and facilitate mobility between students. But it would be great if there is a more structured government-led initiatives that, a student that wants to go and learn something in one country can be supported by their government to do so. I feel that this is really where we win as a continent, to really have that the ease of going from one country to another, because maybe that country has developed a certain program or in a sector that you feel you could learn from. Why don't we do that? Why don't we send people there, and why don't they send people to us? And I feel that this is really where our government could really help accelerate these type of initiatives.
Thank you. Okay, the next question. So this is a bit more of a personal one, but in your positions, and you've been here since 2017, I believe you said, what have you found to be the most transformative lessons for you as a leader in this space?
Wow, I learn every day. I think the most transformative lesson is you're never done learning. I moved from the UK, and the learning that you have here, the challenges that you're tackling, the impact also that you're seeing, is completely different from what I was used to. It's hard. You need a lot of resilience. You need to also understand your environment. But I can honestly say that I found my purpose. And it's extremely humbling. It's also if I guess it's a fantastic learning experience every day. There are days where you're like, oh my God, this is too hard and I'm not gonna make it, and so many challenges, and this it makes the wins even even more appreciated because all the hard work that is behind. So I'm not done learning. So I guess that's my answer. Just continue to learn.
That's so nice to hear. Thank you. I feel like I like how you touched on, as hard as it is, you feel like you have found a purpose, and so it's just being resilient, and that makes it all worth it, even though it's difficult. You know that what you're doing, you like the impact you're creating or the value you're creating. So just sticking in there when it must get very hectic, I'm sure. So thank you so much for your time and spending time with us today. My final question would be, okay, so what's your last word, your last phrase to give to aspiring entrepreneurs, educators, or researchers? How should they get involved with Sèmè City?
Follow us on social media. Come and see us. We are in Cotonou. We're looking forward to seeing you all here. Get involved. We would love to hear from you. We're just at the beginning of the journey. As I said, we're building a bigger campus so we can accommodate more people and do more partnerships. So this is day one. As Jeff Bezos would say, it's day one. The best is yet to come. So we're welcoming nerds, students, and curious minds.
Thank you so much. And we'll share the page as well, resources for people so they know where to go. Yeah, thank you very much, Claude.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate that you're having people on the podcast who are from other African countries. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Oh, great.
And maybe before we end, I wanted to mention the wonderful collaboration Sèmè City has with the 𝐀𝐿 Foundation. So today, over 800 Beninese entrepreneurs have benefited from the 5,000 seed funding, and half of the beneficiaries are women. So Benin is outperforming other countries in the region, and that's because we were the first government structure in Africa to fund additional entrepreneurs. So we find TEF to be just an incredibly effective partner for empowering our entrepreneurs and also for encouraging women's own businesses. I just wanted to shout out how much we love this program.
Hi guys, that's the end of this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and please make sure to subscribe and follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube Audio, as well as follow us on our Instagram page, Africa Everywhere 𝐬𝐬. We hope you loved the episode and catch you next time.
This is Red Radio, powered by UBA, Africa's global bank.